Coming up to down the Waine Train with our first youth intake of the save. Was it a good one? Not really, but we'll show you who we signed anyway, and also we might get a chance to secure our promotion up to the Premier League. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 9 of the Waine Train here on Sean Does FM with Plymouth Argyle. I hope you're doing well, and coming up today we take on Bristol City and then we'll take on Rotherham or QPR. Not too sure how deep we'll go in today's episode. It will depend on if we do get a chance to secure automatic promotion up to the Premier League with only 7 games left in the season. We are in a pretty good spot, 10 points clear of Ipswich Town, down in third, and also reveal who we did get for our first youth intake here at the club. So if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But off the back of yesterday's episode, we have played a couple of games since that big double header. If you missed it against Leeds United and Ipswich Town, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Our form hasn't actually been that great since then, but first things first, we'll go and have a look at the players that we did get for our first youth intake of the save. And unfortunately, we've gone forward a little bit too far since the youth intake did come through. To actually show you guys the page through that youth candidate screen, but here are the players that we have got, because you can see the ones that are still at the club on trial and the ones that we have signed. We pretty much just signed anyone 3 stars or higher in potential to bulk out this under 18 team just a little bit. But in terms of actual potential, we have got some decent players here who might find a way to feature in this save, although that depends how long this one does go for. But first up, Luke Whiting, quite a promising central midfielder, 3.5 star potential, probably more of an attacking one. He's the first one who's come for our youth intake with quite good potential. Alongside that, we've got Josh Kelly, who is a left back, also with that 3.5 star potential. He could be a useful player, also quite tall at 1.86 metres, and maybe actually could end up being a better centre back than a left back. Also, Bismarck Agyakum is a fairly promising goalkeeper. He's got quite a few good green attributes there, albeit one of them is eccentricity. Not too sure if that's actually a good one to have, but he's a player who's already got some green attributes, so he might find a way to make his way into the first team. Those are the couple of players who have got that 3.5 star potential, and as well as that, we've got a couple down here, 16 years old, with that 3 star potential. Michael Wilson, who is a right winger. Also Leo Hennings, another right winger. This one is from Germany, which is interesting. Abubakar Uzoma, another right winger. And on top of that, Joel Sullivan, who is a defensive midfielder. So those are the players that have come for our first youth intake here at Plymouth Argyle. To be fair, not the greatest one. A couple of players might be some use to us in the future with 3.5 star potential, but still going up to the Premier League, not too sure if that potential will hold up. So that's what's happened with our first youth intake. In terms of on-pitch action, also not the best, not as good as you expect off the back of some good results yesterday against the likes of Leeds United, Middlesbrough, as well as Ipswich Town. It started off with an away trip to Sheffield Wednesday. Unfortunately, got off to a poor start here. Alfie Dorrington did score from a corner just past the 15-minute mark, and they were threatening at that stage to really batter us from a set piece, but thankfully in the second half, it was a goal to the Waine Train. Les Aguero played that ball out to Kesler Hayden, and as he tends to do, floats this one into the mixer, and Ben Waine, he beats Stevenson goal. That was our equaliser. Unfortunately, did not kick on and pick up a win off the back of that, but a point away from home, not too bad. But then we kind of rotated the team a fair bit for our next game against Blackburn, just hoping that we could get some injury proneness down for most of our first team players. It nearly worked out, a 3-2 for the first half off the back of Luke Cundall scoring an absolute screamer into the top right corner. But as you can see, that backup team just got absolutely battered by Blackburn inside the top half of the championship table. So unfortunately, that was our 3rd defeat of the season. That one also away from home, stats-wise, did not deserve anything from that game. So can't complain at all, but it was a chance for us to rest pretty much all our first team players except Mike Cooper, who picked up a serious injury. So we probably should have rested him. Thankfully, did have Connor Hazard on the bench. That was one of the subs that we did have to make early, but unfortunately suffer a 2-1 defeat after taking an early 1-0 lead. Off the back of that, thankfully got back on track against Preston, a team who are really struggling to save down the relegation zone with Stephen Schumacher in charge. All square going into the second half of this game, and that is when the action did really kick into gear. Opening the scoring, it was Callum Wright from quite a well-worked set piece here just outside the box. Quite a good short routine there to make it 1-0. And shortly off the back of that, the Waine Train picked up another goal. This time, Almami Toure at right back squared that one for Ben Waine. That's because Ryan Fredericks picked up an injury just off the back of having a go at us. That we were the reason that he wasn't being selected for international dues. So at the time, that was quite funny. He picked up that injury since then. Not quite the case. We'll update that shortly. We did give away a penalty shortly off the back of that, but thankfully did hold on for a 2-1 win, and then a very entertaining game where we did take on Norwich. Lots of goals in this one, so we won't show them to you, but Ben Waine did pick up a double on the counter-attack early, puts one away to give us a 1-0 lead, but off the back of that, Norwich well and truly got on the front foot either side of a Josh Sargent penalty. Gabriel Sara was heavily involved with the other two goals. We did go 3-1 down, but at the hour mark, Finazars put one away, and then a few minutes later, Gibson picked up a second yellow card, and Ben Waine got his second goal. A couple of minutes later, when attacking off the back of that second yellow card, but unfortunately didn't quite find a way to grab a goal to give us all 3 points. But to be fair, from 3-1 down, not a bad result at all to pick up a point there away at Norwich. We have dropped quite a few points off the back of yesterday's episode, just the one win, but it does still mean that thankfully we are on top of the championship, 6 points clear of Leeds and 10 points clear of Ipswich Town. So that gap not quite as much as it was come the end of yesterday's episode, but with 7 games left in the season, still in a very good position to be going up automatically to the Premier League, and we'll see if we get the chance to do that in these next couple of games that we will cover off during the course of today's episode. But unfortunately, as you might have noticed during those last couple of games, we have picked up some injuries, and they are quite significant ones, especially in the area of right back. Also, Connor Hazard actually picked up an injury shortly off the back of that one to Mike Cooper. Thankfully, just a cut hand didn't keep him out for too long, but right back at the moment is a big problem area. First up, of course, though, it was Mike Cooper who picked up that injury in that loss to Blackburn. He is out with a broken collarbone, will still be out for 10 days to 3 weeks, so it might mean he doesn't feature too much more in the season here at Plymouth Argyle. So Connor Hazard will probably keep that starting spot for most of the remainder of the season. But off the back of that, as I mentioned, Ryan Fredericks did pick up a groin strain. He's going to be out for 6 to 12 more days, so should feature at some stage in the future. And thankfully, that will be the case because one of our best players so far in the save on loan from Aston Villa, Kane Kesler-Hayden, he picked up sprained ankle ligaments only a couple of weeks later, and that will definitely keep him out for the rest of the season. So one of our biggest attacking threats here at Plymouth Argyle is gone for the remainder of the season. It does mean at the moment just one out-and-out right back option. Thankfully, we signed him back in the January transfer window in Almami Toure on a free. But as you can see, Kane Kesler-Hayden with 20 assists, the biggest creative threat here so far at Plymouth Argyle in this save. So hopefully we can still do a decent job while he is gone. Maybe that is the reason we've been struggling just a little bit in those last couple of games. So a couple of injuries we are dealing with going in to today's episode, but to be fair, we take on 3 teams in the bottom half of the table. Hopefully we can get the job done in these next couple of games, and that should be enough for us to secure our path up to the Premier League for next season. Might also see a transfer budget as well if we don't get there in amongst these next 3 games. We'll come back tomorrow, finish off the season, hopefully go up in style by winning the championship, and see how much money we do have to spend going into our first season in the top flight. And obviously the Waine Train will still be up front, so that's one area that we don't need to touch in our first team. But first up today, we take on Bristol City down in 17th. This is a team we should be beating at home, albeit they did hold us to a draw in the first half of the season, an entertaining one as well, 3 all the way from home, so quite similar to that game that we did just play against Norwich. And also Liam Rosenoir is a new manager there at Bristol City. He's just recently joined, having been sacked from Hull, and off the back of that, Hull City have been doing a pretty decent job, so an interesting appointment there for Bristol, which might mean they have a little bit of new manager bounce. Also worth knowing, we'll just go back there quickly, some really good games on this match day involving some teams in and around us. Ipswich Town take on Southampton. That's a 3rd versus 4th clash. And also Leeds United, they take on Hull City. So those games could influence our ability in today's episode to go straight up to the Premier League with a couple of games in hand. But obviously with those injuries, a couple of changes to our team for this one. First up, Almami Toure at right back, obviously with no Kesler-Hayden or Ryan Fredericks. It does mean that Halsner is our right back cover down on the bench. And also we've got in there Hazard in goal in place of the injured Mike Cooper. But apart from that, we're at full strength in all the other areas in this team, and hopefully we can pick up a good result here. We should be doing it in all 3 games in today's episode, and if we can do that, I'm pretty sure that will be enough for us to make our way up to the Premier League with a couple of games in hand before we take on the likes of Leicester City and Hull City in our last couple of games. Those ones could be just a little bit tricky, and hopefully as well the Waine Train can continue where he left off in that Norwich City game with 2 goals. He's now on 24 for the season, well and truly clear on top of the Championship top goal scorer charts. Hopefully he can pick up a golden boot on his way up to the Premier League, touch wood, and we should be getting that done hopefully during the course of today's episode, especially picking up 3 points here in this one from home park. And the first highlight is Toure, who takes the throw and plays that to Azaz, gets it back. Can he put a ball into the mixer like here's the Hayden did? Nice chance there. Connor Wright squeezed that one nicely for Finn Azaz, but unfortunately that does take a decent deflection, but early signs are good. We're on the front foot here in this one now. Morgan Whittaker, who to be fair hasn't been too great in the last couple of games, floats that one into the mix. Now Finn Azaz starts to cut inside, tries to unleash that one bottom right corner, but unfortunately that also gets blocked. So a couple of early block shots there from Bristol City. They might be parking the bus for this one, but it does feel like this is a game we are going to be on the front foot, and hopefully that is the case. And at the 11-minute mark now, a chance for Morgan Whittaker to turn around some average form. As I said, this is a range he can definitely score these free kicks from. Tries to curve that one top left corner. It comes off the post, and unfortunately we don't really look like we're going to do anything off the back of that, albeit Connor Wright floats that one into the mixer. Somehow Whittaker doesn't quite get on the end of that header, and then his shot also gets blocked. So we're well and truly on the front foot, but unfortunately not doing a lot so far in terms of shots on target, because the Bristol City defenders are putting in some good blocks. So far O'Leary in goal, not being tested too much. Off the back of that, it was Bristol City there who were briefly on the attack, but thankfully we win that one back. Now Helton plays that one forward to Whittaker. He'll find Finn Azar's good work there to keep that ball with a pass to Connor Wright. Just some fancy footwork there. We'll float this one far post for Morgan Whittaker. Get some help from the post, and to be fair, that might be what we need to do off the back of Bristol City being quite good defensively so far in this game, but thankfully he turns around some slightly average form in the last couple of games that we have played off the back of yesterday's episode and grabs the opener. And to be fair, that has been coming. Morgan Whittaker, good header into the ground, gets a bit of help there from the inside of the post, but thankfully still finds its way into the back of the net. We eventually take a 1-0 lead here. Hopefully we can grab a cushion goal sooner rather than later and make sure we can pick up all 3 points from this one, and then see some of those results from the other games on this match day, some big ones with teams in and around each other behind us on the table, taking each other on. Hopefully both Leeds and Ipswich might find a way to slip up, but unfortunately off the back of that Whittaker goal, there has been nothing happen in the first half. All that has happened is we've picked up a couple of yellow cards. We'll deal with those here at halftime. Unfortunately, one is to Almami Toure, so it will be Halsner coming on at right back, and once we click the right button, it will be Matt Butcher coming on for Adam Randall. Everyone else out there on a decent enough rating. We'll just adjust some opposition instructions, seeing as they've also made some subs here at halftime, and a couple there suggested by our assistant. But so far we're doing well, but feels like we might be capable of better in the second half, and hopefully we can put this game to bed and make sure we pick up all 3 points in this home game against the team who are in the bottom half of the championship, and get the second half underway with that 1-0 lead. Hayden Roberts coming on. He's a decent player in Football Manager, but we do have an early throw in here inside the final third. Halsner gets that one back from Butcher. Will bizz that one into the mix. A good chance for Connor Wright, save from O'Leary, but then it falls to the Waine Train, so we don't mind that at all, and we do pick up a second goal. The Waine Train continues his great goal scoring form this season, and hopefully that's the goal that makes sure we pick up all 3 points from this one. Halsner gets a 1-2 between him and Butcher off the back of that throw. And to be fair, quite a nice ball there from our usual centre back. That's a great save from O'Leary, but then Ben Waine just puts that one beyond his reach for that second shot, and he makes it 2-0, and hopefully that is a buffer we can hold on to. Maybe we can chuck Mumba here onto support actually, and just really try and put this game to bed and make it go beyond doubt with a 3-0 advantage. But now going past the hour mark, still 2-0, and so far Bristol City doing absolutely nothing in this game. And off the back of that, Callum Wright, he goes down to a red heart. So for our next substitution, Mustafa Bundu will come on for him. We'll just adjust our opposition instructions yet again and try and make sure we pick up all 3 points to hopefully secure automatic promotion up to the Premier League during the course of today's episode. If that is the case, we'll come back tomorrow and then try and wrap up the championship title. And with 20 minutes left, we've now got a couple of other players down to red hearts. The Waine Train, Finn Azaz and Jordan Houghton, and only 2 subs left now. Ben has scored a goal, so because of that, we might leave him on. I think we'll definitely take off Finn Azaz on a 6.6 for Luke Kundal, but we might also take off Jordan Houghton potentially, just so we can leave the Waine Train on for this episode. So Luke Kundal, he can come on for Finn Azaz, and we won't take off the Waine Train instead. We'll bring on Lewis Warrington in place of Jordan Houghton yet again. Just check in briefly on those opposition instructions off the back of quite a few subs with only 20 minutes left, and we'll get stuck into it and hopefully hold on here to our 2-goal advantage. And off the back of that, there is a highlight to Bristol City. In fact, not sure those subs have even gone through yet, but Williams plays that one back to Dickey, and now James on the ball. So the first chance really for Bristol City to do anything in this game so far. They've done next to nothing, and it is now Tanner who is on the ball on that yellow card, plays that one in. Now some good short passing here on the edge of the box, and Matty James with a stunner there into the top left corner. It beats Connor Haslam. To be fair, don't think anyone would be saving that. And now Bristol City, with really their first attack of the game, find a way back into this one, so hopefully we don't bottle it. But those subs coming on now have a bit to fight for, only a 1-goal lead with 20 minutes left. If we drop points here, it would be a bit disappointing. Off the back of that, I think we'll chuck Mumba back on defend, just make sure that our defence is hopefully a bit more solid for the later stages of this game. At the moment, Bristol City only 1 shot on target at that stage, albeit it did just bump up there before we do go in and adjust our tactics. And I think we're going to go a bit more defensive for the later stages of this game. Yet again, check in on opposition instructions, because at this stage of the season, the earlier we can get that automatic promotion sealed, the better it does mean that we can rest some players in the last couple of games of the save, give some fringe players some game time, so hopefully they don't get too upset with how much game time they've been getting here this season. And it is a highlight with only 5 minutes left to Bristol City. So there's a bit of a swing here off the back of that goal that they did pick up with 20 minutes left. O'Leary plays that one out to Dickey on the right-hand side, starts to make his way forward. We'll pick out Tanner on that yellow card, plays that one forward to Vayman, but there's a good tackle there from Lewis Warrington, and now a chance for us to play out from the back. Hazard up to Julio. It's a bit of an iffy pass there on Warrington. That's a really poor one. Decent chance there, but thankfully they just put that one wide. We're trying to lose this one, and with only a couple of minutes left now, it might be time for us to maybe just go full on defensive in terms of our time wasting, and also we'll slow the tempo down a little bit and maybe even just drop to a mid-block instead of a high press. Hopefully that just makes sure that Bristol can't break us down in these 5 minutes of added time. But unfortunately, a free kick here in their favour. The goalkeeper's up and they find Matty James off the back of it. They put it top right corner, and we've blown a 2-0 lead, and that could make our task today just that little bit more difficult depending on the results from those games involving Leeds United and Ipswich Town. Off the back of that, we're going to go full out attack. Maybe going to that mid-block was not a good idea, albeit from a set piece, not too sure if that would have had too much impact. We'll just reverse all those things that we had done previously. Also, tell our guys to play a little bit wider and go back to a higher press, and also may as well leave it as a much higher defensive line. But unfortunately, they brought up the goalkeeper for that free kick, and I think it actually caught our defence there, because we left Matt James in a ton of space and rockets that one top right corner yet again. Nothing that Connor Hazard can do. We'll break the guys off the back of that. Hopefully that will get some response, but unfortunately, despite the fact we were well on top for most of that game, we faded away the last 20 minutes in Bristol City. They do find a way to pick up a point. We'll see shortly what that does to the championship table. Might now mean we skip over the Rotherham game and come back for QPR instead. But we're going to fresh the arms at the guys. That was not a game we should have lost, especially with a 2-0 lead and only 20 minutes left, especially freshening up our squad in the midfield and defence. We made sure that Ben Waine stayed out there, because I didn't think we needed any more goals, but unfortunately we blow that 2-0 lead, albeit other results. Ipswich Town, unfortunately, they have picked up a win over Southampton, but Leeds United were held by Hull City, so we are still 6 points clear of Leeds in that championship title race. Also Ipswich Town, they close the gap now, only 8 points clear, so it does mean a win in this next game over Rotherham will not quite be enough for us to secure automatic promotion. So I think we'll show you guys highlights from that one and come back and take on QPR all the way down bottom in the championship, and hopefully that might be the game where we get a chance to secure our promotion up to the Premier League. And here are the highlights from that Rotherham game. This one was a pretty close one stats-wise, but it did always feel like we were on the front foot, and thankfully, just off the back of half-time, Callum Wright gets on the end of the ball there from Jordan Helton, puts that one away, and we do go back to home park off the back of a 1-0 win, back in winning touch for the first time in a little while since we did beat Preston a couple of games ago, only our second win since yesterday's episode. That one over Ipswich Town. As you can see, stats-wise, they actually have more shots on target than us, but thankfully we find a way to pick up all 3 points. And also, other results on that match day did fall in our favour. We'll just go back here and you can see Leeds United, they did pick up a win, but more importantly, if we go down a bit more, Ipswich Town played at a later time and they got thumped 4-1 by Norwich, so it does make up for that previous result that we did give away against Bristol City. So we are now 11 points clear with 5 games left in the season. So if we can pick up a win in this next game over bottom of the table QPR, these days managed by Jesse Marsh, you'd like to think this is a game that we can win. If we can win this one and Ipswich Town do not pick up a win, they play the day after, so unfortunately won't be live checking it, but we'll come back and see if they do drop points. They are hosting Watford. To be fair, Watford not doing a very good job, so unfortunately might be a chance that this doesn't get wrapped up by the end of today's episode, but hopefully they do drop points in that one off the back of that hammering by Norwich, and we can pick up a win here over QPR, and if we do, that will at least put us right on the verge of that automatic promotion. We can come back and hopefully do that as well as lift the title in tomorrow's episode. Also, we are now guaranteed a spot in the playoffs at the very least, but to be fair, that was always expected the way that we have been travelling up to 90 points with 5 games in hand, but hopefully we can get the job done here over bottom of the league. Jesse Marsh, he might be down in League One shortly. What a fall from grace off the back of managing Leeds United in the Premier League last season. And we have made a couple of changes to our team for this one as well. As you can see, lots of players are on a heavy workload, so it does mean that Lewis Gibson and Finn Azaz are injury prone, so because of that, they drop out of the team. Coming into the starting lineup for them is Sebastian Hausner. That does mean that Julio will play as the ball-playing defender. Also, Dan Scarr comes onto the bench, and as well as that, Luke Kundle is the cam. It does mean for this one that Ian Pervader might be the cover in that central attacking midfield, because coming onto the bench, it is Mikel Miller as well as Mustafa Bundu. So we've got a couple of options there in attacking midfield, but hopefully we can make sure we pick up 3 points from this one off the back of that narrow defeat against the Rotherham team, who, to be fair, are climbing up the table off the back of a poor first half of the season, where they were the team who were down the bottom. There you can see QPR, they are really struggling this year, already looking like they'll be going down to League One. So Jesse Marsh, not too sure how long he's been there, but he has a bit of a rebuild job on his hands there at QPR, but hopefully we can just make sure that we get right on the verge of making our way up to the Premier League for the second season of the save. Unfortunately, Julio does pick up an early yellow card, albeit he's one of the players who is on a heavy workload, so maybe Dan Scarr can come on for him at half-time. But about 15 minutes in, and so far, not much doing, which is a little bit concerning, but it does look like we are on the front foot, so we'll encourage the guys, and hopefully that might get a few highlights going in this one. Drop points here would be very frustrating, especially at home, but it's fair to say not quite at the top of our game off the back of that win over Ipswich Town in yesterday's episode. Now coming up to the half-hour mark, we eventually get the first highlight from a throw, and Callum Wright starts to cut inside, finds Luke Kundle, takes on the shot from a tight angle and beats Smithies in goal to make it 1-0. So thankfully, despite the fact it took a little while, we do score from the first highlight. Also worth noting, Leeds United, they are 1-0 up, so unfortunately they might be picking up 3 points on this match day as well. Hopefully we can do the same. It does mean a 6-point gap potentially going into those last 4 games of the season in that race for the championship title, but that's a decent start there, 1-0, even though it did take until half an hour, and shortly off the back of that, there is a highlight. Smithies clears that one for QPR. Thankfully, Almami Toure will tidy that one out. Now, Julio is on the ball on that yellow card. As I said, Dan Scarr might come on for him at halftime. Hopefully, can prove a bit of a threat from set pieces, but now Callum Wright, who helped set up that first goal. Nice ball in there for Adam Randall, does quite well to keep it. Back to Callum Wright, rockets that one top right corner. That makes it 2-0, but unfortunately, he was offside. Did just briefly glimpse there at a flag going up, I think. So unfortunately, only 1-0, but now it does start to feel like we're starting to assert our dominance in this game. Hopefully, can grab a cushion goal sooner than we did against Bristol City, and maybe score a couple more as well to make sure that this time we do hold on for all 3 points, and with only a couple of minutes left in the first half, another throw-in for us here. Jordan Helton puts this one far post for Morgan Whittaker. Very similar goal way he scored in that opening game against Bristol City. That makes it 2-0, and thankfully this time we have a cushion goal before half-time. So far these throw-ins working well for us. In the second one of today's episode, Helton, nice ball far post, always drifting away from that defence, and Whittaker just follows it nicely and heads that one home this time with no help from the post. And off the back of that, another set-piece chance for us here, albeit QPR deal with that, but the Waine Train will track back and get that one, have a hit son, try and score a screamer. What a wimp, he passes that one to Mumba, but now Cullum right inside the box. That one does take a deflection and it goes out for a corner. Hopefully the Waine Train can score from this. We praise our guys. Thankfully, still going to see this one. Might be a chance for us here to make it 3-0 before half-time. We don't find anyone at that far post, but Hausner back to Cullum right now. Toure in space will rocket that one. Top right corner, our mummy Toure with a morphing slide there on his knees, and he is all over the place here. That's a little bit interesting. Might be a bit glitchy there from the match engine still in the early access phase, but thankfully we do make it 3-0 before halftime. This already should really be game over at home park. Toure gets sagged off there, albeit that's probably expected for a right back who can also play centre back. He makes it 3-0, and that will be the scoreline at halftime. That first half, our best one in a long time, albeit QPR are not very good, but we're going to take off here Julio on that yellow card. Danskar can come on for him because of that. I think Sebastian Hausner will be better in that ball-playing defender role, and also just checking briefly on opposition instructions, but to be fair, those are going quite well at the moment. We're up by 3-0. We won't adjust them. We'll get back stuck underway into the second half with that 3-0 lead. Also gives us a chance now to maybe take off some of these players on a heavy workload during the second half and freshen them up for our next game, which could be a little bit tough against Leicester City, albeit might not be too much rowing on. Now Ben Waine, off the back of a deflected shot, gets a chance there to loop the goalkeeper. Unfortunately, they do save that one, but it falls to Bali Mumba now. Our left back gets on the score sheet. Both our wing backs scoring in this one. 4-0 right off the back of half-time. That is well and truly game over, and now we wait for the game the next day in the Save universe. Ipswich Town taking on Watford. Hopefully Watford can take at least a couple of points off them there, pick up a draw. That will be enough for us to make sure we are in the Premier League for next season. But to be fair, that's probably going to happen anyway, because as soon as Ipswich Town do slip up now, that is going to be us in the Premier League. Now it's actually QPR here on the attack. Nice ball over the top there, tempting one. Hazard did come out briefly, but thankfully still kept that angle quite tight, and it does hit the side netting. So far QPR get to get a shot on target, and just coming out to the hour mark, there is a highlight here. We look to play our way out from back. Danskar loops that one over the QPR attackers, and it is now us who make our way into the opposition half. Good 1-2 there between Kundul and Almami Toure. He makes his way down that right-hand side so far, doing a decent job in place of both Kesler Hayden as well as Ryan Fredericks. Loose touch there though, and it is a chance now for QPR to do something. Hausner for some reason just stops there, but thankfully Hazard comes up with a good save. Really weird animation there. Hausner looked like he could win the race to that ball, but for some reason just stopped. But thankfully Hazard comes up with a good save, and thankfully we head that one away from set piece, and Mumba might actually get a chance to do something here on the counter-attack, but at least that funny animation will not cost us a goal, albeit at 4-0 up. That's probably a time where you don't mind it so much, but now coming up to the hour mark, so far no one is down to a red heart, and we are well and truly in control of this game. And now Cullum Wright on a red, so he can come off, and it will be Mustafa Bundu who will come on for him with just under a half hour left. Not going to bother with opposition instructions the way that this game is going, and shortly off the back of that substitution, it is now thrown in again. Toure is in the action, gets that one back from Whittaker, floats this one towards Mustafa Bundu right off the bench and scores a goal immediately. Perfect management, and we make it 5-0, and this is the most impressive scoreline that we have racked up in quite a while here at Plymouth Argyle. Just been scratching our way to results in the last little while, but this one is a thumping, albeit it is at home against the team who probably will be in League One next season, us in the Premier League. It's fair to say you'd expect that. We make it 5-0 off the back of that. QPR get something potentially going here from the restart off the back of making a lot of changes, but it's probably too little too late at this stage from Jesse Marsh. But they do have the ball here, keeping it well at the moment, and they start to make their way towards our half. They find their Shah on that far side, plays it back though to Clark Salter, ball over the top there, but thankfully Hausner can deal with that one, plays that one back to Connor Hazard, and he plays it forward to Helton. Now Hausner off the back of that funny moment before, thankfully didn't cost us a goal, and now Dansgaard plays that one forward, and it's Luke Kundal, and a chance for us here to do something on the attack. Whitaker plays that one forward to the Waine Train, misses the target, but even then he was offside, so it's a bit of a waste of a highlight there, and with 20 minutes left, we are still up by 5 goals to them now. A couple more players are down to red. Hearts Helton can come off for Lewis Warrington. Was briefly thinking there about taking off the other players who are not on green rankings, but I think for now we'll just wait and make sure we take off the players who need the rest when they do go down to red hearts, and thankfully only a few minutes later we can do that. Toure down to a red heart, played well today. Saxonelli can come on for him. Bali Mumba can do a decent job at right back, and also Morgan Whitaker back in the goal scoring action. In today's episode, Ian Pavada can come on for him, so that'll be all our subs used. Now it's time for us to just make our way towards full time and then go forward and see what the result is from that Ipswich Town game, and if we do get automatically promoted to the Premier League in today's episode. Another tempting ball over the top there from QPR, but thankfully Hazard yet again comes out and does deal with that danger this time by picking it up. He takes his time here before he pumps this one deep. Kundal tries to win it, doesn't. Dozal plays that one over the top, and it is the Waterman with a stunner from long range. His first goal of the season. It's taken a long time this season for that, but that's an absolute screamer. Get QPR a consolation goal in this one. Thankfully, won't cost us too much. Luke Kundal misses out on that header to Clark Salter Dozal. Nice ball over the top, and to be fair, we try and mark him tightly, but that's a wonderful finish, curving effort that into that bottom right corner. Fair play. It's a stunning goal that will be up the goal of the week. They make it 5-1. Leeds United, though, they are 2-0 up over Sunderland. Slightly disappointing, because if they drop points there, that would have solidified our chances of picking up the championship, albeit we should be doing that anyway. But thankfully, that goal, as I said, just the consolation one. This one was all over Red Rover from a long way out. 5-1 off the back of going into the sheds with a 4-0 lead. Never really in doubt, and we'll come back shortly and then go forward and see if that results enough for us to get automatically promoted up to the Premier League. So a very good win there over QPR, and off the back of that we have gone forward till nearly kick-off time in the Ipswich Town Watford game. Hopefully Watford can take some points off them. As you can see, 14 points clear now of Ipswich Town. If they drop points with only 4 games left off the back of this in the season, they can't catch us. To be fair, they probably won't anyway, but it would be nice for this to happen on camera. Otherwise, we'll deal with it in tomorrow's episode as well as the game where hopefully we can also lift the championship title, still 6 points clear of Leeds United, albeit we do take on Leicester and Hull City in 2 of our last 4 games. Those could be just a little bit tricky, but we'll go forward here and see if we can get a helping hand here from Watford as they do travel to take on Ipswich Town. To be fair, Watford haven't been doing too bad of a job recently, even though they are down in 19th. We'll see if that can talk a result here into existence the day before my birthday in game. It cannot. They do suffer a 1-0 defeat. They keep it close, so unfortunately, with still 4 games left this season, Ipswich Town, they could catch us, but one more game where they drop points, and that will be all she wrote. If we pick up one more win, that will also do it. So unfortunately, don't quite earn promotion to the Premier League in today's episode, and it's time for me to go and do other things, but we'll come back tomorrow and wrap up this first season of the save. Fair to say we should be going up to the Premier League. It would take an absolute aberration from where we are with only 4 games left for that not to be the case, and also hopefully can hold on to that 6-point advantage over Leeds United and lift the championship in the process as well. So that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, those drop points late to Bristol City, they did prove costly to the plan, but we'll come back tomorrow, as I said, and hopefully get that promotion to the Premier League through winning the championship. If you enjoyed today's episode, which also included a brief look at this year's youth intake, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Until tomorrow, we'll wrap up the first season of the save, and hopefully, unless there's a massive bottle job and we end up in the playoffs somehow, we'll make our way up to the Premier League. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.